Hello, football fans, and welcome to the final episode of our Euro 2024 show. We will review the final, talk all the big news to come out of the Euros, and each of us will give our team of the tournament, where we can hopefully agree on one set team to finish it off. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy our final episode of the Euro show on the Corner Flag podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to our final episode of the Euro Pod. It's been great. As always, I am Simo, and I'm joined here by Bully, Danny, and Brad. Gentlemen, how are we all?
Oh, I've been better.
Yeah, no, mate. Good to be here. What a Euros it was, and I'm just very thankful for yourself to invite us on here, and yeah, keep coming back and chat footy with the lads. It's always a bit of fun, I say.
Danny?
No, look, it was a great end. Two teams, I think, deserving victors across both the Euros and the Copa. So, yeah, excited to chat about it all.
Lovely. Well, it is good to be back. It's a bit of an emotional moment, I think, coming to the end as well.
It is.
But look, it has been great fun. I hope everyone at home's enjoyed it as well. Before we get to the game, guys, I do want to quickly go around the circle and talk about a bit of kit drip. Brad, what are you rocking there, mate?
So I wanted to wear a New England jersey, but all my ones are a bit old now, so they don't quite fit the 35-year-old
Nor is there a reason to wear one at the moment anyway, Bradley, to be honest.
Yeah, no, but I'm just putting it out there. I'm not shutting the door on England. Still proud of the performance over the tournament. But yeah, wearing a Liverpool kit from the 1988 season, I think. So you've got number 7, King Kenny Dalglish on the back.
Lovely.
Very good, Bull.
I've got the R9 special from the, I believe it's the 2002 World Cup.
No, that's
98.
98.
Oh, no, it's 98, when he had the patch.
Fat Ronaldo haircut.
I mean, if there's anyone that's really good at editing, please can we cut that in and put it on the dome here?
2002, he had that haircut.
Was it?
98, he was just a shaved head.
Oh, shaved head. Oh, there you go. Okay. Well,
He won it with
shows I've got
the dodgy haircut.
That's right.
Korea, Japan.
Yeah, they're golden generation.
That was the one, yeah. Oh, well, if you want to do it anyway, please cut one in.
Leave it with me.
The Especiale. But yeah, one of my all-time favourite players ever to watch and ever to probably grace a football.
Anyone got a Sharpie? I'll do it on you right now, mate.
Won't be able to wash it off. Don't know if the wife will be impressed.
I've gone 2002, 2003 Parma away kit. It's one of those jerseys that had a cult following with that team of the guys that were there at the time. So it is a pretty nice kit. First time I've worn it.
Is it a Buffon era?
Yeah,
Cannavaro, Thuram,
Lilian Thuram.
Yeah, there was the whole squad. You just Veron,
What about Vialli?
Crespo. I was going to say Batistuta. I'm pretty sure it was Crespo. Yeah, it was some team. Nedved as well, I think.
Jeez, everyone going over to Italy just to...
Yeah, very decent. So, Danny, what do you got on, mate?
Something a bit different. I've kept the long sleeve jersey right below.
Must be his last one.
Oh, no.
Lucky it's not a 5-week tournament because I'm all out, lads. But this one's a shout out to Local FC. Created this little short run of Boca Juniors inspired jerseys. Instead of saying Boca on the front, it says Loco. So shout out to Chad and Local FC for a good kit.
Yeah, that's nice. I rate that.
So we're going to go straight into it. The final pitted Spain and England. Spain was definitely one of the form teams throughout the tournament. Whereas,
An understatement.
yeah, but probably pre-tournament, I think as Danny touched on one of the previous episodes, probably not one of the favourites of those top couple of teams. Whereas England were quite the opposite, picked as one of the favourites and never really hit their stride. So I think that's a bit of a fair statement there.
I think so.
Absolutely. What were they on Sportsbet, Danny, at the start of the tournament, mate?
Spain.
Yeah.
Not even
$12.
$12. Something like that. Yeah.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Good money.
Crazy.
So just a few interesting things to come out of that. So Spain were obviously aiming to become the first nation to win the Euros 4 times, and it was their first final since 2012. However, England were in their second successive Euro final, obviously having lost to Italy in 2021.
Don't keep reminding Brad.
Spain, you definitely can't argue with Spain. They won all 6 of their games in the lead up. However, England, I suppose, even though they topped their group, I think they limped out of that group.
Limp through.
I believe we did say at one point that no one out of that group deserved to have exited.
Yeah, that's true. I think that was very early on.
But
a couple of snooze fests.
Yeah, well, arguably they were building into the tournament. I think their best performance was the semi-final against the Netherlands. So we were talking last episode about them hitting their straps at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And the last time they met was in the Nations League in 2018. England running out 3-2 winners. Have you seen that, Brad? someone posted it the other day that the lineup that England had, it was terrible. And apparently they got battered all game and still come out 3-2 wins.
I was
3-2 winners.
I'd take the same result, same performance.
I bet you would. So the match anyway, it finished 2-1 in favour of Spain, obviously. The impressive Nico Williams opening the scoring just after half-time with substitute Cole Palmer equalising in the 73rd. Heartbreak for England as Mikel Oyarzabal came off the bench to poke home an 86-minute winner. So,
Yes, off of a Cucurella assist, Gary Neville was stoked about that, I'm sure.
Early stat, guys. William became the second ever youngest goal scorer in a Euro final. with that goal. So all the chat's been about Lamine Yamal and his record-breaking age, but William's also not getting his own one on the list there.
Do we have to email the internet to find out about those facts?
Don't ask me who's first. I got no idea.
I was about to say, who was the youngest?
No idea.
Maybe the internet will know. So we'll go back to the start. So pre-game, Spain welcomed back to Carvajal and Lenormand to the starting lineup, both returning from suspension, which saw Jesus Navas and Nacho move back to the bench. Any surprises with the lineup there from Spain?
No, I think both lineups were pretty much to the T as to what we thought was going to happen.
For sure.
Pre-game, for sure.
I think, if you were gonna say before the game is like what would you predict as the strongest lineups? That was possibly what you could have gone for.
Caraval back in.
Absolutely, yeah. He's always a great addition, and looking at the stuff that you've seen through, some of the feeds and whatnot, looking at the season that he's had, and the incredible amount of trophies and things that he's won both domestically and internationally. It's just,
I think he's got a shout now for Ballon d'Or.
Well, there was some footage that I saw in their celebrations in the stadium afterwards when Rodri took centre stage. The crowd was chanting Ballon d'Or, Ballon d'Or, and I can't remember who, but one of the other players was shushing the crowd, and I know it was Joselu, his Real Madrid teammate, was shushing the crowd and pointing at Carvajal.
Or Nacho.
You've got the wrong guy.
Do you think has the Ballon d'Or changed a little bit in the shift around what it used to be? From years in past that I remember, it was always just, one of those outstanding players. Like all these other, I get that there's these factors around what trophies they win these days and all that, but the likelihood of a defender ever winning a Ballon d'Or.
Look, my argument.
Cannavaro
Back in the day, but
and that was a World Cup win.
That was yes.
I think the
correct.
biggest issue now is it's such an even playing across the board. So I think trophies do matter to take it to that next level.
Yeah, look, my argument always when Messi's won it in years where maybe he didn't pick up the same amount of silverware is simply who's the best at playing the sport we're talking about, right?
That's what I think.
Individually. At the moment, there's a lot of talk about Vinny Jr. In the way that not only is he picking up trophies and he's been influential on the pitch, but he's also just a great footballer to watch at the moment. He's probably as close as it comes to the likes of your Ronaldinho's in terms of the flair and guys that really enjoy themselves and look super dangerous every single time they pick up the ball, right? So there's got to be that argument for just plain and simple, who is the best at football?
Well, that was why I always think that Neymar was so high up there. Considering the year, I remember when he was at Santos, and I think that was one of his breakout seasons that he had there before he got that.
They made the Club World Cup.
Club World Cup and all those things. That kid was scoring goals for fun, and the way that he was taking those goals was ridiculous.
He was one of the first ever players to make the top 10 in the Ballon d'Or outside of Europe.
Yes, correct, absolutely. Wow. Yeah, so.
Yep. So obviously, Yamal was also the youngest player in a major final, beating Pele's record set from 1958.
Wow.
Brad mentioned that last week, so that was a big moment as well for him. England made one change, wasn't forced. So Luke Shaw made his first start coming in for Kieran Trippier. Probably something everyone was crying out for.
Look good.
Manu obviously started in midfield, and it made it the first ever final to have two teenagers starting.
Wow.
At a major tournament. So, any surprises there or anything you would have done differently if you were Southgate?
No, I think that's the lineup that I predicted. And look, I think overall, Shaw did an okay job against Yamal. Yamal could have been a bit more dangerous, but I think overall...
Was there a different formation or setup in play you pay attention more to it than I do from semi-final or final, Brad? Because
it's exactly the same.
Exactly the same, really? Because I just found that Foden didn't have anywhere near the same amount of freedom or wasn't getting himself in the same positions he was in the semi-final. Semi-final, he looked unreal. It was like beautiful. Back to the old Foden, who we didn't see the whole first half of the tournament.
That made us come down to Spain's defence. Like maybe Rodri playing that defensive midfield, maybe...
Knows his teammate well.
Cutting off those channels, and because thinking about Netherlands midfield, that's where they sort of lack.
Yeah.
So there's probably a bit more space for Foden to work.
And the funny thing was that Phil Foden obviously picked up Player of the Year for in the EPL.
19 goals, 8 assists.
8 assists,
like
and he didn't register a goal and or an assist the whole tournament for England. So
They call it the new tournament 007.
Yeah.
0 goals, 0 assists, 7 games.
that's not bad.
Overall,
But
yeah,
it's-
he hasn't been.
It's like calling him James. I just-
That might be in the nickname in the change room, but it was quite disappointing to see because obviously coming off the season that he had, and is that a reason, to obviously explain why he was, if you're not playing in your position, this is what can happen. Under Pep Guardiola, different circumstances with the coaching, etc. But is he not as effective because he wasn't played? Like you look at past tournaments where they had Scholes, Gerrard and Lampard trying to all fit them into a midfield. And you got Paul Scholes playing out as a left winger.
Yeah.
That's certainly not his forte, and that's to the detriment of. There is so much talent within that England squad. Where do you fit all these players and get the best out of them?
That's the hardest bit. I think England and France, right? They've got those amazing squads, so many great players fit all these different positions. Where you look at Spain, yes, they've had some great players come off the bench, but you could pretty much pick the same 11, and that's their strongest team.
Yep.
Especially when Rodri came off, what was the replacement's name? He was okay, but like their first 11 is the strongest.
For sure. That was that Zubin.
I thought he was okay when he came on.
He did a great job. I think the energy, a little bit more energy going forward, which is obviously what they need in the second half, and probably down to the reason why they maybe had a really good start in that first sort of segment of that second half.
Well, you wouldn't believe in the first half, Rodri had his jersey untucked.
Wild.
Maybe that's why he came off.
I seem to think that's the reason. It's no other thing. Once that thing is tucked in, that's like Clark Kent. He's coming out and he's like, this guy's on for a serious game.
Gaffer, get me off. My lower back's a bit cold. Get me off. All right, so game kicked off, and first real big chance I thought anyway was Nico Williams. He got one-on-one with John Stones, and I thought he'd done him. He threw a little step over and took him left, and Stones ended up getting across to make a nice slide tackle.
Very good block.
I was going to say, how was it a heart-in-mouth moment there?
I think the whole first half, I think England struggled to get possession of the ball. I think it was like 70-30% at one point, which was a bit concerning. But the positive thing coming out of half-time was we hadn't conceded. But yeah, it was just all Spain that first half.
Yeah, so I had a few key moments. Obviously, Harry Kane got booked in the 25th minute. It was sort of one of those like follow-through challenges. I thought it was unlucky to get a yellow, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree.
Player made the most out of it. And then Danny Olmo got booked not long after for getting Rice quite high.
Yep.
Again, it was one of those ones as well where I just feel like there's not much Olmo could have done
right.
to avoid that. It's still going to be a card and whatever every time. But
Rice did throw his body in front of it as well. It was almost a bit of a handball kind of like.
It's interesting that one of those things. Hey, you slow it down. And obviously, it looks terrible, and you sort of go question: are these guys going to go upstairs and revert that decision? You do see a lot of them when they go into that. Well, obviously, when you slow everything down, it obviously makes it so much worse. When you see those things. So, I looked at it and gone, geez, they might send this up for a dubious red card or something because the way it obviously went up, you watch it in fast pace and obviously real time. It's it's sort of a bit of a nothing kind of thing.
There's no malice, I think.
That's the key
correct.
word
The
as well.
intent.
And I think, like you said, when you slow it down enough, most of those challenges
Everything
look
looks
pretty
worse,
terrible. So, Rodri put a nice block on Kane in the 45th minute, and that gave him a corner, which Lenormand flicked on, and it ended up at Foden at the back post, who was at full stretch. I thought he did really well to actually make contact and
Something with
get.
it.
He forced a good save
Did
still.
well, laced the shit out of
It's
it.
something, yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was most of the stuff there. It was a good save from Unai Simon, who's had a pretty good tournament as well. I think you look at the keepers that Spain have at their disposal.
That's right.
You're not necessarily thinking he's definitely the number one, but he obviously.
And also there was one game where Spain did rest a lot of their players, and Raya got a gig, which was a little bit unheard of mid-tournament to pull your keeper out and give someone else a crack. But he held his nerve and continued on.
Yep.
Looking at that first half, I thought it was quite cagey at times, where people sort of everything was a bit sort of tentative to want to go.
It was your classic final. It was
Correct.
just no one.
I'm
Don't
not
make
going
the
to try
first
and
error.
make a mistake.
Don't
I'm
make the
just
first
going to just go through with comfortable football. I'm not going to try and extend myself. I said besides the one player that obviously was the note was Nico Williams. I thought was trying to run at players and looking to go and attack with some intent. Although again, Fabian Ruiz was outstanding in that first half. Well, not even first half, just that whole game. He just looked so comfortable on the ball, and for every time he got something in there, he was turning into the right pockets, getting himself into good spaces, and looking for that nice little link-up play. And I thought Morata was outstanding. For a bloke that's never touted as a You know, he's sort of always that sort of bit part kind of player, and he was making these these nice little darting runs and getting in behind defence and trying to cause a couple of a bit of disruption to the back. But I thought Guay, who's a bit of a shout for team of the tournament. For the way that he stood up in his gameplay, for he's quite young as well, and I thought he was outstanding in that first half to, sort of nullify anything that was.
There's going to be some big clubs after Mark Way.
Yeah, talk about. He's definitely one, but there's a couple of players whose stocks absolutely rose during this one. For me, Fabian Ruiz, look, he's probably already at a club where he's on an absolute motto. He went to PSG really early to pick up his money, but there'll be people lining up for a player like him. The way that he's played and.
I completely agree.
Or there's going to be a call from the PSG guys going, how did you get him to play that way? Because he's
Not doing that for us.
not doing that for us. We want that. Whatever you've told him, I want that.
Yeah.
Instructions.
But even then, you look at it with those teams as well. You got like the likes of Vitinha and a couple other players that are playing in front of him. Is he really getting those opportunities? Whereas now, you look at it and go, that bloke's he's got to be starting coming back in.
As well from Uruguay.
Which is now linked to Man United.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. I think that'd be
Don't
good.
ruin him for us,
Everyone's
please.
linked to United.
That'd be a good.
I hope
bet.
so. Hey, look, I'll take whatever I can get at the moment as a United fan. So, but we digress.
Yeah, so that was the first half, obviously ending 0-0. And like Brad said, England probably very happy to get in at 0-0. Overall, you think Spain were without creating 1,000 chances, we're pretty dominant overall. Obviously, so just outpossessed England and moved the ball around really well. So, big moment at halftime was Rodri coming off for Zubimendi. We spoke earlier about possibly his shirt being untucked being the reason. But what were your thoughts? I know when that happened for me, I was like, oh, this is a sub that could change the game.
Yep.
Like for Spain, obviously being dominant in the first half, to lose a player who contributes so much to that ball, just ticking over, but also breaking up. Pretty much every chance that England looked to have, he was there.
100%.
What did you guys think when that sub came through?
Look, no doubt Spain are absolutely blessed when it comes to a midfield, and they have been for a very long time. Rodri's one of those guys that even now when I try and watch a football game, I try and notice the things that he does and doesn't do, and there really isn't. It's not really measurable his impact that he has. But there's a saying they used to have about Busquets, and I
was about to bring that up.
And I put them both in the same bucket where I think the quote goes something like, "If you watch a game, you'll never see him, but if you watch him, you'll see the whole game," which I think is a testament to two very talented players that really play their sort of back room kind of role in this squad. And it was definitely a turning point. If Zubimendi didn't come on and play the way that he did, obviously he had a rocket up him to make sure that he did so, and luckily that benefited Spain.
Well, we messaged you all in the group chat, and I was like, didn't know that Rodri was off, and that's you kind of look at it and go, well, you don't really notice that he's almost on in a sense, exactly like that, because he's a player that just goes about his business. He does his things really, really well and breaks up the play, knocks the ball about, and it's not really flashy, but it's so effective.
He's come up with some big goals, especially in the last season, in big moments like Champions League finals and whatnot. Like, he tends to get a goal when they really need one, but it's definitely not his style. He's just...
You look back at that game against Georgia, was it? Maybe in the round of 16, where they went down 1-0 early and Spain looked a little bit out of it, and then Rodri just from his right pulls it to his left, bang, bottom corner, bang the back, and they won 4-1.
Yep.
So it just shows that was an important goal.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, it wasn't long after that Brad's heart started to break. Yamal got himself an assist, so it was the fourth of the tournament. It's more than any other Spaniard ever at a single Euros, which I thought was pretty impressive when you think of David Silva and all those Xavi, Iniesta, all those guys.
Just
like
an absolute joke of a line of players. Cesc Fabregas.
Yep.
You think he'd have more
Assist king.
Assist king. Just crazy.
obviously he set up the goal for Nico Williams. Anyone want to talk us through that one?
I think it went from positive vibes, Rodri going off at half time, and then bang.
I mean, it was a gorgeous goal.
It was. But
Lovely finish.
What's everyone's thoughts? Is Walker out of position because he's trying to move into the midfielder, or is Saka expected to be making that?
Before it even gets there, the ball that is played from Carvajal into Yamal's feet came with, I'm assuming, some fantastic comms because it got played onto his inside. He took it on a turn straight away, and Luke Shaw was gone.
Yeah,
you could see Luke Shaw had already almost given up, and when Yamal gets rid of that ball, Luke Shaw does this little skip, fuck, that was my player, and now that ball's gone over there. So
You know a bit about those skip, don't you, Danny?
I don't even get close enough to think, oh, I almost got there.
Oh, that's mine.
Yeah,
He's already
that
apologising.
guy back there was mine.
Luke Shaw had resigned, and it was that point, like in the Simpsons, it was Brad's heart just broke.
Yeah. You can picture the exact moment. Ralph Wiggum.
But
I
I
honestly
think
thought it was going to be like two. They were going to score 2 or 3 on the back of that. So.
They looked like that next sort of 5-6 minutes.
well, that you talk about the guys that combining. I think we spoke in the last episode about having your wingers combining effectively. That's pretty much bread and butter right there. One cutting in from one side of the flank,
Yeah.
going all the way with a switch ball across the face of the goal for a nice first time finish. And
Great decoy run by Olmo as well, who took 2
Yep.
defenders with him, opened up that safe ball that us futsal players
Safety
know all
pass.
about. That
Yeah,
safety
it's a
pass in behind the defence.
classic.
It gave Nico Williams enough time to look. He connected with it well. Pickford's little T-Rex arm couldn't get there, and
If you're gonna concede a goal, it's probably you want to concede something like
you
where you go,
couldn't
fuck,
do
that's
better
not a
than-
lot we really could have done about that.
better than a shitty scramble in the box, and you see someone just sort of tap it in off their
Or a
knee. That was
mistake.
a world class goal, and worthy of winning a final in my opinion. It was nice.
Oh, you can just tell, and just touching on what you said earlier, Bull, with the wingers, they've obviously got license to go all day, every time they're on the ball. Like they've got a license to, freedom in that front third. So, and I think you've got 2 guys that I think you need the cattle to do that. Not every team could just say, "Hey, man, when you get the top third, back yourself and go."
It also comes down to decision making too. You've got these 2 young guys who not often put a foot wrong. They didn't often. There wasn't times where it's like, "Oh, Yamal should have dribbled him there," or "Yamal should have not dribbled him there and taken it back." They made the right decision time after time.
Yeah.
Went to pass.
Very
the right
experienced
Time.
decisions.
They make
But I'm sure they're encouraged to do that as well. You know what I mean? Like if they do make the wrong choice, they're not hammered for it.
Simo, if you got told every day of the week you have freedom to do whatever you want, I would know for sure that all you do is dribble the guy to the byline pretty much every single time.
I don't like the byline, so probably not. But yeah, I'll be cutting on my right foot wherever that is.
You would do what
yeah,
you would
100%.
do what you want to do every single time. If you
Yeah.
if you know the coach has said to you not make the right choice every time, there's times where it's not the right time to cut inside onto your right foot. They are making the right decision.
that's that
time
maturity.
after time, which is unreal for 2 young kids.
For 2 young kids, well. The thing is, you talk about it, the kids. He just turned 17, had his birthday whilst they were still in camp, and like making the correct decision at that time in such a big moment. This is not talking about this is just a round game. You get an opportunity. That's every time that he's made those decisions and he's cut in and played that ball. Like that's maturity beyond years, and that's the scary part to think. But I also I do take some part of it as well. Is there some wearing legs? With a couple of the fullbacks that they had with Kyle Walker. He's still quick. But is he missing a bit of that sharpness about himself now with his positioning play and other things? And I don't think him and Saka worked that well together on that side.
I think it's a bit different because you got Guay and Shaw on the other side. Shaw's a bit more defensive minded, where Saka's that more attacking minded. So it's that tricky part where it does suit Saka in an attacking sense. And yes, he has some history. He has played left back, I guess, in his early Arsenal days. But yeah, he was all the way out the other side of the pitch. So it's a lot of pressure on Kyle Walker to be marking Nico,
managing
maybe
both.
helping Murata with John Stones as well. So
Well, I just wanted to have a quick look at Nico Williams because we're talking about the decision making and whatnot. He's 22 years old. Do you know how many La Liga games he's played?
how many?
300.
103. Like, that's a lot of games for a 22-year-old. So he obviously broke through quite young.
Quite young.
Is his older brother Inaki?
Yeah, but he
that
plays
the-
for Ghana, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, but it is, isn't it?
Inaki,
Because
yeah.
they were the two that I think Inaki was the one that had a certain amount of games where he didn't get injured.
Yes,
he,
yeah.
he had,
Ridiculous
he
amount
had
of time,
played
right?
like 4 seasons consecutively without missing a single game or something
That was him,
absolutely
that was his brother.
stupid. That was
Yeah, no,
that
that's
was
what I'm
Inaki,
saying. But
yeah.
yeah, so I mean, it's interesting. So he's listed as Ghanaian. Is he the?
Yeah, I'm sure it's Ghana, or he definitely plays for an African nation.
Interesting to see that you'd have one brother that would be.
Because
at-
obviously Iñaki
not the
didn't
not
get
the
a
first
gig.
time. You got any others?
The
You got any
Boatangs,
others?
Kevin
Boateng,
Prince and
Kevin
Prince and
Jerome.
and the Alcantaras, Thiago and his brother Rafinha.
Oh, yeah,
Rafinha's
true.
of Brazil.
In Spain.
See, that for me, that's crazy, right?
It is wild. Imagine playing against your brother at international level.
Oh no.
That's
Different countries.
That's
Your parents
that's
be like,
wild.
I wonder if that's actually ever happened. They play for different nations. Imagine have you ever had 2 brothers play against each other on the international stage at a World Cup? There's a fact.
Oh, maybe not at the
Hold
World
on,
Cup. I
there's
was
some
going to say the Boatangs probably would have at some
Danny
point.
is emailing the internet. As
Any
we
friends
speak.
of the
Germany
pod?
versus Ghana.
Jump on, have a look.
Spain.
Hold on, we've got to cut to Brad, see if he's got that stat. Or he's got everything.
But
I'll
that's
find it.
I just wanted to clarify that because that is crazy. But for like you said, 100 and something games, that's insane for a young guy like that.
Yeah. So anyway, Stones got booked in the 53rd minute, and then Spain. We already said it, but Spain looked really dominant, had a couple of chances, but then England started to work their way into the game, and a big turning point was Ollie Watkins coming in for Harry Kane, 61st minute, big decision. I'm going to go to you, Brad, just because I have to. But what were you thinking with that?
Look, I think it was the call. Like Harry Kane was very quiet. He had that chance in the first half.
Do you not keep them both on? Is there a world where you play with two of them?
That was my thought. Like
I was
an extra one
thinking that, but that's again, it comes down to the issue. You've got so many good players for so many different positions. Like, what is the right move? So, look, I think bring Cole Palmer was on. No, sorry, bring Cole Palmer on was definitely the right move because I think he's had a great tournament coming off the bench. But yeah, look, in the scheme of things,
Who did he come on for? Because I feel like that was more of a attacking.
He come on for Manu.
Kobe
Come on from
Mainu.
Manu.
but
Okay,
again,
so
And
slightly
then
more
Bellingham,
defensive player.
Bellingham dropped into midfield,
he
like
jumped
central,
like an 8. In
Sure.
and
certain
then
positions.
Palmer moved up. So
Okay.
Yeah, look, it did for that sort of 10-minute period where England started to get back into the game. I think it definitely made a difference. And but again, it's a big move. Captain number 9, bringing him off.
All-time scorer for England, right? It's like if you need a goal, all-time scorer probably the one to find it for you,
I
right?
guess would anyone have Kane in their best 11 of the tournament?
Well, he was.
The 3 goals.
Listen,
Like,
I've got him
like
as
the
I've got
Golden
him
Boot.
here as a special mention in mind when we get to it. He did end up joint top scorer, right? So I mean,
Penalty.
I found it very difficult to pick a
Tapping.
9. To be
so did
honest.
I. There was no star.
We'll get to that
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
I
Sort of
suppose.
fake 9.
Look, there was. I don't know if it was before or after the substitutions, but there was a good chance from Jude Bellingham. That turn and the shot where
Yep.
he said
64th minute.
Two
the two
defenders.
Spanish players absolutely flogged themselves.
Yeah, I thought one
he
of them was
actually-
gone off in a stretcher for
He
sure.
puts a little bit of curl or gets around that ball a little bit more. He's laced it. It's kind of
he hit that with some
out.
pace, but that thing
would've-
was
I'd
traveling.
like to see the speed.
Who was on the
gun.
speed
Yeah,
gun?
where was that? Where was the coppers? Just must have been raining.
Honestly,
When you said, was that the 64th minute? So I think from that period to the goal and just after is where England started.
That's when,
to,
yeah. And I wonder if that was obviously, the change of Watkins. And look, Southgate did come out after and say that Kane was struggling the whole tournament with a knee injury and obviously fatigue and whatever. But look, whether he is or not, I think that's good of Southgate to protect his players and you know what I mean? Like, because he's going to come under a lot of criticism. So I don't mind the gaffer doing that. Take from that what you want.
I disagree. I feel like one, that's a cop out, and if that's the
Correct.
case, he leaves himself more open to more criticism because
Correct.
if you're going
Why
to
you
tell me
playing him?
why are you playing him,
Yeah.
if you got
Ivan
Ollie,
Toney,
the
Ollie
next
Watkins.
question would be if I was in the room going, was Ollie Watkins fully fit? Yes, he was. Well, then why wasn't he starting?
Correct.
And
I
give Harry Kane your last 9 to get you a goal.
completely
Well,
agree.
in saying that as well, I think it's big to go with Watkins too because Ivan Toney had done nothing wrong. You know, when he came on in the quarterfinal when the extra time. Sorry, he did really well. So it's interesting that he threw Watkins. Obviously, they speak a lot about Watkins' ability to run in behind and stretch defenses, which is.
I think I'm just going off the Netherlands game. Those 2 subs worked for the Netherlands game, and then that was
Again,
going to be the first 2
this
subs.
comes back down to the point. England is so blessed with a lot of talent, but where do you squeeze all the in? I like the idea of Danny's point, and I completely agree. Why not go with 2? Why not shake things up completely and let's go 3 at the back?
Old school.
If you're going broke,
You take Kobe Manu off, right, and you stick with Jude Bellingham and Declan Rice as your 2 sort of flat. You play a flat 4.
well, Declan for one, I think Declan Rice should have come off because he just plays it backwards and sideways. But
But you need him to be that defensive guy. I think he led the tournament in tackles won. I think
Oh yeah,
overall.
look,
So you
He
need
does,
someone
he
there
does
to
that sort
win
of
you.
unnoticed job that people refer to, but he's not as like flashy as your Rodris and things like that.
Yeah,
So. But if you're looking at those 2 players, Kobe Mainu and Declan Rice, you'd probably bring Rice off, maybe slot.
I think the thing with Manu, Spain identified it quite well. Is you look at every time that he got, and I've obviously been a United fan, I was sort of trying to watch how he was sort of playing and looking at it. Spain were trying to double team him a lot of the time. So it's obviously it's
They were playing a lot of double pressure throughout that midfield, which I think is part of the reason why they've been so effective all tournament.
correct. And yeah, that's a credit to obviously the coaching staff to identify going, okay, and also a credit to Kobe Manu as a player going, okay, well now I've realised that, I'm not going to be as effective as I was probably in other games when people were giving me not as much respect.
And that's where the English team need to realise if we get it to him, he's going to get pressed, so we've got to move it then quickly. So, which was difficult to do because most of his passes then were becoming 3-4 meter passes. There's already players there, so the pressure was there. So it was difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, so after that, obviously Bellingham had that strike, just struck it wide, and Pickford then made a great save from Yamal.
Pickford
68.
making the save, Jesus.
He made a couple actually. He wasn't too bad. So
there was the two chances Yamal had. The second one, he definitely should have.
Oh.
That one,
yeah,
that one,
no.
that one around the
Somewhere.
corner was a fantastic save by Pickford. The other one,
other one
Straight at him.
I think he was caught in two minds where he was trying to do that thing where he opens his body up and then at the
wraps
last
it.
minute decides to wrap it into that near post
Send
and
the
didn't
eyes.
quite execute. Unfortunately.
68th minute, Oyarzabal came on for Morata, and I don't, when they made that sub, I remember thinking to myself, I wonder if that's the first time both skippers have been hooked in a final of a major tournament.
Most two experienced players.
Usually your skippers aren't getting subbed, and when I watched the replay back again and they went up for the coin toss and whatever, I was like, oh, they both got hooked. So just an interesting one there. And then Palmer comes on for Mainu in the 70th, which, as I said earlier, allowed Bellingham to drop centrally. You could see Bellingham was frustrated on that left. He wasn't really... are we pressing? Are we not pressing? We're struggling. He wasn't getting a lot of ball. So this allowed him to get on the ball a little bit more. And some people said from the start that that's where he should be playing alongside Rice, obviously before Mainu sort of put the performances in that he did. And it was only 3 minutes until Cole Palmer scored. Obviously, Saka started to look a bit more dangerous as that half wore on. Down the right, found Bellingham through a sea of players, to be fair. It was actually a really good pass to Bellingham.
Danny's little crow before the
Mate,
the ball came in
Oh, yeah.
in the group chat.
And then I was like, sorry?
I'd gone on an absolute rant with the boys in text message asking if Jude Bellingham had come on yet. Only time I'd seen him was he turned the ball over. And next minute he provides an absolute peach of an assist, puts it on a platter for Cole Palmer.
Mind you, to get that as an assist, because Palmer had a lot to do, and how composed...
A lot to do.
hit-
He didn't break stride.
No. I'm saying how far out was he to effectively
Exactly
side...
21 metres, actually. I saw it today, 21 metres.
There you go. To side foot that
Bottom corner.
through traffic, I thought that was... A lot of guys would just
it took
take a
it-
touch and try and welly that.
It took a deflect.
It did take a little deflection, but
Took a
still...
deflection,
Yeah,
yeah.
only tiny.
Do you reckon City are spewing they got rid of him? Because in my opinion, I think Cole Palmer is like...
I wonder what he's like as a person.
I don't like his haircut
Yeah.
to start with.
That's the
looks like a
He's got this thing like,
Full
going
English
for, I reckon
chav.
if the wind blows a little bit, it like his hairline will,
Donald Trump.
It'd look like my hairline.
his hairline will walk in about 3 minutes after him. I reckon.
yeah,
Sneaking suspicion.
But it's true though, right? I mean, they get rid of a guy like that. He goes over to Chelsea. Yeah, it becomes Chelsea just throwing money at anyone they can. But he's gone out. Did he get the opportunity at City, or was it the fact that he just had too many other players in front of him that were way more talented, and now he's become the talisman?
He's competing with Foden. and Kevin De
Unfortunately,
Bruyne, right? KDB.
unfortunately, the main thing I was going to say is Phil Foden, who Phil Foden did have the patience. He did bide his time. He did play many seasons where he was a 20-minute role player until he finally got his chance. And he's also a City boy through and through. So there's a nice story there.
Stockport Messi, they call him.
Well, Palmer told, like Pep's spoken about it, and because they kept hammering, especially the better and better that Palmer did during the season, and Pep came out and said like he wanted to leave, like I wanted him to stay. Obviously, couldn't offer him the minutes he's going to get at Chelsea, but he wanted to leave. So what do? I'm not going to make him stay here if he doesn't want to be here.
You're not going to deny someone opportunities to go and get that gained experience. And
credit to him, he's gone to Chelsea, and from the beginning, his attitude was, "I want to take the penalties.
Yep.
I want to own this team." No one was
21
sort of,
goals or something.
no one was grabbing that
Cold.
team by the scruff of the neck. And
I think every time he's come off the bench for England, I've been impressed with the way he's put himself about the pitch. He's got that hunger. He's just got that. I don't know.
do you think
drive.
personally, as a massive England, do you think he deserves a start ahead of Saka?
So maybe two sort of different positions. I think he's competing with Phil Foden. I think
I agree.
them two want to play the same position.
I
So
agree.
I think Cole Palmer. I think he's a right-sided player. I think he operates better. I like Saka running and cutting in on that foot, but I think Saka would be better off on that left-hand side, just burning players, byline, and whipping the ball in. Obviously, with an effective
Kane would
left
want
foot like
that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Doesn't get no service,
That's
yeah.
what I'm saying. There's got to be, as a coach, are you trying something different? Which I felt like everything was just the same sort of method, and you looked at all the subs, and they were all very similar. You know what I mean? There was
like for like.
like for like swaps. You know, it was never sort of trying to change it up and adjust a little bit of a formation to try and break something or try and create and go, okay, when it gets to that last minute or it gets to those dying parts of the game, can I do something operationally different and get it and try and achieve another result? You know, where I thought it was always, let's just stick to what it is. We'll throw on like for like players, and hopefully someone does something better.
Well, that comes down to the entire pre-tournament selection of your squad. If you're picking the same tools, you're going to end up with the same results. But he had opportunities. Game 3 of their group stages could have been a perfect opportunity to go, you know what, if I'm getting like-for-like player, throw Cole Palmer in, see what he gets. He might have jagged himself 1 or 2 assists. I mean, he ended up with an assist and a goal. With the
Not playing a lot.
They got a lot more stats than Phil Foden. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
His XG rating might have been a bit higher as well.
Expected games stuff. That one.
Let's go on to that.
Anyway, so after that, it was sort of 7-8 minutes of not a lot after they scored. Obviously, England were applying a bit of pressure. Pickford made a good save from Yamal. I think that was the second one, was the more straight at him shot that you were talking about.
That's the one that even Yamal, you could see that he really felt it. That was the
disappointed.
opportunity. That
Even I think the touch before was quite lucky that it sort of cut back as much as it did, because the defenders just left and he went, it just sort of, to hit a ball that sort of stops dead can be quite difficult. And I think that was the issue that he
there was
sort of
also
had
an Olmo chance. I think we've already gone past minute-wise where Nico Williams plays it into Morata
back heel.
little touch, and then Olmo unfortunately scuffed it. He over-corrected around it and just bowled over to the keeper, which is another big chance.
Yeah, Nacho came in for Lenormand in the 83rd, and then 3 minutes later, Mikel Oyarzabal got himself a goal. It was a perfectly timed run. They had a look. They checked at VAR, and it could not have been like any more onside without then.
I believe Bradley put it down to a fat kneecap. I believe he said he wanted the
John Stones fat kneecap. Football's a game of inches, right? Like,
yeah, he should have worked on that kneecap, shaved it down a little bit.
I think Guay may have let his man go slightly, but
Yeah, well, Cucurella obviously played that ball in, that square sort of ball, I suppose, like you said earlier, to much of Gary Neville's dismay. But yeah, it was a good finish still.
another great goal. Talk about 2 fantastic passing goals that just really opened up a defence. It was both goals were 3 passes, bang, bang, bang. Good night.
And they're the ones you can't stop, right? Because when that ball comes in, and obviously you're predicting going one way, everyone's sort of sliding across, and then that body just gets thrown in front for just a cheeky little touch, a little deflect, and you can see as soon as he got that body in front, everyone was just like, you could the disappointment on people's face, and I think Bradley's would have said it all, being amongst it, mate.
Well, I think if we go back to before the goal as well, I think England for that 10-minute period, we looked like we were piling the pressure on, and the second goal is going to come from us, and it just sums up our whole tournament. There's one play, I don't know what minute it was, it's 1-1. I think Kyle Walker's got a throw in. Everyone's in the box, crowded in. He's looking. Then he sees John Stones, throws it to John Stones. John Stones turns around, knocks back to Pickford. Pickford picks it up, panics a bit, long ball, goal kick. And then from there, the momentum just slowly shifted again back to
It's funny that you said that, because I saw that motion too, that they kicked it back. It was actually Pickford kicked the ball away to them. It was. I think it was they had an aerial shot or a shot that was from behind Pickford at the time, and he's just kicked it straight into the guys, and that's where they've gone down for the counter attack back the other way, and that ball's gone out to Cucurella.
And Ollie Watkins is sort of thrown his hand. But if you look back at all England's games, we've done the same thing. We've either scored or gone behind, equalised, and then we've sat back. Same as against Slovakia. Extra time, Harry Kane scored. We sat back, let the back in the game. So
especially when they definitely had the ascendancy as well. Like I said, before they scored, that 7-8 minutes before, it was like, it's coming. Like, not home, but it's coming.
To mention a superior team that should be able to hold possession over just about anyone. The quality they have in that squad, why they're on the poor side of a possession score in a lot of games is...
They'll show you how good Spain are, though, at ball retention anyway. So then, look, Tony came on in the 89th for Foden, so pretty much straight after the goal. Mikel Merino came on for Yamal to shore things up. Right at the end, England had a corner.
Holy
I'm
dooly.
sure you were up and about. Yeah. Palmer's whipped this ball in. Declan Rice has run from, I reckon, the opposite corner flag.
Yeah, he had his eyes closed too as he was heading.
He was coming in at 1,000 miles an hour. Yeah. Good header, saved by Simon. Follow up by Guehi, then cleared off the line by Olmo. And Olmo celebrated that like
I do envision
won the Euros.
I'm wondering if your TV is still okay, because after that goal line clearance, I feel like I would have 2-footed it if I was you.
That's screaming. That's it's a game of inches. He's on side by this. The ball's this close from going over the line. I know overall we weren't the better team of the final in the whole tournament, but I don't have much else to say.
Heart's still breaking, guys. Stop bringing it up. Hey,
Brad's exhausted.
can we move on?
Can we change this? Can we talk about Copa America? I think it's some Brad ones.
The thing that killed me the most, I'm not sure if you get to it, is injury time, right? Isn't it? So there's 4 minutes of injury time, and I know Spain spent a lot of time on the floor, and that's what was frustrating for me is as soon as the clock ticked to 94, bang, the whistle gets blown. I thought it
was lucky
at
to be a
least,
minute.
yeah, at least
Played.
a minute, like maybe
That's
2
the
minutes.
fans for you for
And
sure.
I'm there just going, even though we didn't have the ball at the time and stuff. It was just,
Yeah, no, look, that was
Heartbreak.
spoken about. Someone had done it. I didn't actually see the stats, but someone recorded the amount of time the ball spent in
Yeah.
those last 4 minutes, and it was
in my head, I'm like, all right, we've got to at least 96. Come on, 2 more minutes.
If we were to truly play the amount of injury time that was deserved, then every Copa America game would have gone for 3 hours and 40 minutes.
I was
Well, remember
about
the World
to
Cup?
say,
The World Cup, they were
my
doing
days.
like 9, 10, 11 minutes of added time.
yeah, that.
Straight, they just did it for that.
Yeah,
And that was a normal thing.
FIFA were like, no, we're going to play every minute of every game.
Yeah.
yeah. But
Obviously not. Anyway, well, it finished there at 2-1. Record 4th Euro win, Spain.
Huge.
So they're out on their own there. Spoke about Williams being the second youngest ever goal scorer at the Euros final. Palmer was on for 143 seconds before he scored.
Wow.
So you just think of, I was listening to Peter Crouch podcast not long ago, and he was saying like in the semi-final when he saw what can score, he goes, it takes me there emotionally, like seeing his face, what it would feel like. Imagine that, like being on the bench, and obviously he didn't know, but within 2.5 minutes he'd be scored.
You
An
reckon-
equaliser in the
That's
final.
cool.
do you
like-
reckon Peter Crouch listens to your podcast?
Yeah, definitely. He gives me a shout out every now and then. So, yeah. He's the Czech listener.
Yeah, he's the one. It's just from there. But yeah, mate, looking at you obviously see the vision of when everyone's celebrating and at all the pubs in England and stuff like that. They obviously they cut up a couple of little videos of where they are and like a famous. Is it a pub, the Box Park, or is it?
Yeah, I think it's a Box Park. Yes, it's like a famous place where all the fans go. And
Where
that's
all
that's
the
where you see all the
they see all the
everyone's
big-
Is that just
Yes.
outside Wembley? Is that one?
I'm not sure where that one's actually situated, but yeah, that's one.
Some of our
It's
other
got
English fans
the
message
One
television.
me.
big outdoor area.
Yeah, it's like
Wembley,
looks like just a cool beer
It'd
garden.
be an absolute joke of a place to
Oh, it'd be chaos. Your feet would go in there. You wouldn't be able to lift
You
them
could
up
watch
off the floor.
Northampton play Carlisle and get that. Like, it'd be amazing. I
soon.
reckon. So
But it just watching that, obviously, when you see Cole Palmer equalise, and to have knowing that you've got like so many people supporting you, it still gives me goosebumps thinking about it. You know what that, and seeing those reactions on those videos where like chaos amongst the fan, there'd be just people just be drenched,
Yeah.
beers just flying all over the place. So
Go back and watch the full time one. The disappointment in everyone's face and the tears.
yeah, I was going to say, well, I didn't want to go into that, mate.
Would've been-
I wanted to leave you on a happy note.
Punch-ons and the
well, they just started putting some pics up of obviously Spain have arrived home. The parade, wow! Like it looks
Look,
another level.
I was
delay or something?
fortunate enough to be in Barcelona when Spain won the World Cup in South Africa in 2010. By gosh, that was an absolute party. So I know very well
I've had
the
some
kind of scenes that were limbs
Estrella,
everywhere.
getting
So
drunk.
it would be nice to be there.
Have you got the XG there, Danny? Because that's what I was going to go through next. But I'm really proud of you that you actually
not
looked
good.
into it.
Not good.
I can't believe we're turning to that podcast that
Yeah, this is-
XG, but
this
I had
is
to come
actually
prepared just
gross.
in case we did.
Yeah.
Spain's XG was 1.77 to England's 0.55. So
Yep.
you could see, look, that's a fair stat for the entire tournament. To be fair, in terms of relation to what form both teams were kind of in. Spain looked dangerous in every sense of the word, I think. And they have an exciting future with some quite young stars in that team. So
I think both teams do, to be honest. Like England, obviously got like Kobe Mainoo is a real star to look at for the future, and like Saka's still young, Foden's young, Palmer.
the
good players,
squad-
all under 25. so.
Yeah, the squad's ludicrous.
I
And
think
I
I looked before Spain, England, Brazil, all $7 favourites, and France for the next World Cup. I think Argentina's about $10.
Yeah, wow,
Argies.
fair enough.
I think what's
Considering their results, Jesus Christ, would be.
I'm not sure who it was, but I think what sums up England's tournament and the frustrating part is they called them Moments FC. So I think we've had those big moments like the quarterfinal penalties, Jude Bellingham's bicycle. All those moments were just incredible. Like, doesn't matter where you are watching it as a fan, it was amazing. But it's all the parts in between, the frustrations and the roller coaster of.
But I think
rest
the
of the
English press are the harshest. At the end of the day, they have made 2 Euro finals in a row, and as Bully would say, it's nothing to be seized at.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a
Seized?
sneezed,
Sneezed.
sneezed, sneezed, sneezed. But they have different standards. I get it. And with the team that they have, the potential for them is that anything short of winning the thing is
Do
unfortunately.
you think they have the right to have those standards when they've won one major trophy ever?
The difficulty as well is that they also come from where the best league in the world is. Arguably, not all their players play there. However, I just feel like I think that is right for them to have it. They've got the quality there. We've spoken about the stats early in the tourney about the kind of goals that they have across their front line. Yeah, the goals that they have.
Of course.
Well, I spoke about that at the start.
Exactly.
100 and something.
140.
Only 53
Stupid
goals or
goal.
something.
I'll have to go back to the paper. I'm sorry I don't have it on hand, but it was 100. I think it was 160 or 150 something, and 78 assists.
I mean, just let's break it down with two that we know. We know that Foden's hit 19 goals this year, and we know that I think it was 40 goals for Harry Kane.
Yeah, yeah, I think in all
Cole
comps.
Palmer,
Yeah,
20,
yeah.
He's Bellingham scored for Real Madrid.
I mean, there's goals galore in that team.
Didn't look it, to be honest.
Well,
I
the
mean,
XG tells us that.
XG doesn't lie. So,
But things might be changing anyway. Are we going to release the exclusive news?
well, I was just going to say the last.
come on, let's go.
We have had some news come through. I'm going to let you do it, Brad.
Come on,
actually.
Bradley, please share the
You can
news
stand
with
on the
us.
camera if you want.
No one would be more happier to say
I'll
this.
put this
than
one
you.
up on a reel later. So if you want to stare at the camera,
Let's go.
Say
won't
like
stare
breaking
down.
news. I'm going to throw to our
Breaking
man
news.
Brad Durant in the field. Brad,
Look, breaking news. Look, it comes with a little bit of sadness because he's done well at the helm, but it's also a little bit exciting because hopefully we're going to start playing some better football with whoever else comes in. But Gareth Southgate has officially stood down from his position. And a new
Stood down?
manager- he stood down.
Ah, okay.
yeah.
Then he
He
hit
has-
the yard. Dun, 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 dun.
No, I think it's more of a.
Oh, yeah, a little clap.
Wow.
We're
Please don't touch those buttons again.
We're gonna miss the polos. We're gonna miss the waistcoats. But
Everyone
Yeah,
put
so-
your waistcoats out.
I think it's the right decision. Like Danny said, he's made 2 Euro finals, the World Cup semi-final. He's done what he's can.
Unfortunately, with the amount of joy that he's also brought extra heartache because you guys were so close to so many major potential trophies. Which I don't know which one's better.
But I think that comes with the English press mentality as well. Is that they get the pitchforks out, straight away.
100%.
And look, as I have mentioned, that there's certainly nothing to be sneezed at looking at what he has achieved, but upon reflection of those, it's not there's no certain style about how they play, and I think any decent coach would get something much better out of that supremely talented group. That's my thoughts.
You look now at the two teams that are ruling world football, right? Argentina on one side and Spain on the other. Two play a completely different style of football. You look at Spain and you see how beautifully they play. You see their style, how dynamic they are. That sort of in between of the tiki-taka from the older Spain to now the modern day speed and going at players with the players that they've got. But you've got an Argentina side who they don't play pretty football. They haven't got. You don't go, wow, how nice do Argentina played. No, they are just warriors and they're battlers. So whatever coach comes in, doesn't matter which one of those styles you deploy, but you're either a team of 20 blokes that really believe in whatever you're saying to them, and when you say jump, they say how high, the way Scaloni's got his Argentinian players playing, or you go down the route of De La Fuente and really play a really beautiful style and use your best players to their best abilities.
Yeah, look, I think you mentioned both those teams, and both of them, the coaches are probably not household names in De La Fuente and Scaloni. Like they haven't, I don't know, how much they're not Mourinho's, they're not,
Established.
those sorts of coaches. So it's really interesting that you bring those two up. The interesting thing it does, I suppose, throw up is, I'll have two questions. I'm going to open it to you guys. What's next for Gareth Southgate? Because he's long been touted to go to Man United.
Please do.
So very interesting that Ten Hag has just signed a new deal. I felt like United were waiting. I feel like the Ineos and the ownership group were waiting to see what would happen.
Waiting to go into relegation.
So what's next for Southgate? But the first one I'll ask is, who's the next England gaffer then?
Oh, Brad, here we go. Come on.
Yes. Oh, look.
Wet your whistle.
Who would you like? Who do you think?
Don't say Gary Neville.
Look, it's still very, very raw. But I think the first person that comes to mind at any team, because there's one person standing in the shadows everywhere, has to be Jurgen Klopp, and that's not just coming from my love of Liverpool as well, but
That's not a biased choice at all.
at all. But yeah,
I think that's your dream.
but that's the rumours I have been reading as well, that it could be Jurgen. But I'm also reading that Jurgen could be going to the next German coach.
What's the list of the coaches at the moment that are looking for a job? I mean, he's top of the list in terms of world-class coaches looking for a gig at the
Who
moment.
else is there?
but-
I haven't even had time to
Pochettino.
think.
But there's a difference. I always look at it, and the way I read it as there's a difference between international coaches and
course.
your domestic coaches,
True.
right? Because there is a different. I think there's a different criteria of what you have to have.
It's a different job.
A completely different job. You're managing. You're obviously you're constantly viewing how your players are tracking in different areas. You've got your scouting over different networks. I mean, obviously, look, there's a team for it, etc. But there is much more in depth to being in an international role than there is to having that domestic. And I don't think obviously the pay packet is not as handsome as it would be domestically. I would perceive.
He also
So
just making $4 million for Uruguay.
And we've got no money as a firm.
They're paying him in training kit. He's got to sell it after the game's outside.
no, but like you know what I mean. In comparison to what
Yeah.
you see a lot of them make in their domestic seasons, and
Maybe
obviously
the
coupled
England
with a lot
job.
of that. And that's
Do you know what I mean? If they wanted to go high profile, maybe I think they've obviously got the cash to do that.
Of course,
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean.
Of
Yeah.
course they would. Of course they would. I think there's some good shouts for would you love to get a Pep Guardiola? Would you love to have? I would love to see England have a personality and a style about how they play.
I think 100% you're right. I think that if their next appointment has to already have their own style of play, their own signature brand that they bring with them, whether it's a Mourinho and his ability to keep a clean sheet every single
What would
time.
be the XG if Mourinho was the coach?
Look, I was just thinking a realistic one probably is Poch.
Yep.
He is available at the moment as well.
And
The English press seem to love him regardless of how terribly he does wherever he goes. I think a Mourinho would be great for the show side of it. But how would a guy like Ange go in a job like that? Like Postecoglou, you're talking about someone.
love
You
to
want someone who has an identity. You watch the Ange teams play; they have an identity. Imagine him. The only difference is as well with the role. You're not getting a full preseason. You're not getting to train every day. You get them for a couple of days, for a couple of weeks, every couple of
I
months.
reckon it's going to be the toughest job, international management.
Oh,
and
the difference is
international management and England.
Yeah.
Well, you got to think.
Geez, yeah. Look,
The players you're getting in at that level don't need to be coached per se. It's about getting everyone on the same page and whatever. But if you want to implement a set style, it's difficult with not a lot of time.
Look, with this, I can imagine that during the year they would be getting sent tapes and styles and stuff like that if you're in the plan. So as a player, you'd have plenty of time to study stuff. You don't turn up at training and go, I've never played a 4-3-2-1 before, let's go.
Yeah.
So there's...
And would you have to have a certain strength as your managerial style? Now, I look at it and go, okay, what kind of man manager was Gareth Southgate? Did he have the respect of the players? I look at all these different things. Obviously, the tenure that he had, right? The players played for him in a certain extent. But how would he have controlled a lot of those bigger personalities in that kind of change room and stuff? Did they actually respect him? He didn't do much domestically, but I know you touched on it before around De La Fuente and Scaloni as well. Obviously not having that similar, but I think that those players respect him, whereas I don't think a lot of the players respect Gareth Southgate. That's
he
in
doesn't
my
get
personal
like you
opinion.
watch him in an interview, he doesn't get my juices flowing. Like it's just, I don't know, he's lacking that like oomph.
So we need a.
We are also talking about coaches that have been successful. They can walk around with that swagger, and you automatically earn respect from championships and titles. Right at the moment, unfortunately, Southgate hasn't got that, so he hasn't got that swagger to walk around with. We're talking about. We just listed off 5 or 6 coaches that have basically won everywhere they've gone, if not at least most places.
You've got to
they've
have that
gone
mentality,
to.
right?
And yeah, I mean, you hire a coach hoping he's going to win one day and hasn't won anything, then you may get that result. They got to hire now a winning coach that has history in winning and knows how to win. Not with that team, I reckon I could maybe win.
I've got the English odds here. If anyone
Okay.
throw them out,
Please.
Going from one boring manager to another, Graham Potter is the favourite as England.
Wow.
Graham Potter, and then it's Eddie Howe.
That's not a bad shout.
Yeah, Eddie Howe.
To be fair, like I quite like Potter at Brighton. Obviously struggled at Chelsea, but he had that Brighton team ticking.
But again, he's gone to Chelsea, bigger players, bigger names.
Terrible.
He's gonna have
And that's the
same
thing,
issue.
you were talking about managing styles, you're going to manage big egos. And you did say you don't know if these players respect Southgate, but this is probably under his reign, there's been no, I feel like no major scandals, no big fallouts. Whereas every other tournament, something would go wrong. The Wags would have a punch on in the hotel. Like, I don't know. You just go, is he not allowed that to happen? I don't know. That's just what I thought. Anyway,
No, that's good.
we just don't know. We're not there. So
That stuff doesn't happen across any of the teams now.
So yeah, Eddie
It's a
Howe.
modern day football thing, I believe.
Darwin Nunez just threw about 400 punches in the
It
grand
was.
stands.
They were every single one of those ones he missed were warranted.
Because it's fun. It's fun to praise.
Well, before we
on the head, but let's
Before we change the subject off the coaches, I did a bit more digging deeper into De La Fuente, and he's now actually won the Euros with the Spanish under 19s, 23s, and the national team. So you could tell that. I mean,
There's a pedigree about it.
Spanish football as a whole has an identity, and they have had one for quite a long time now. Whether or not he is the creator or the instigator of it, or he's bought right into it and he's executed it well with the players that he's got. It's a credit to Spanish football as a whole for the success that they've had. I mean, we spoke earlier in a different podcast about the Spanish women's team also current world champions as well. So they've got a current world champion, a Euro champion.
Who they beat in the
They also
final?
may have beat someone we will not mention, but it doesn't matter. There is something that is doing right, and I mean, especially as Australian football fans, we borrowed the rulings and lessons of Dutch football for such a long time. I think we dug into the wrong set of textbooks. I believe.
Well, it's like, oh yeah, we had Ange Postecoglou, and we were like, oh, let's get rid of him, and we'll move on
let's
from
not
others.
back him.
Let's not back a coach that's got a certain style and has a winning mentality.
On something.
But let's not digress
Sorry.
anymore.
Back
on
to
that.
the odds, Bradley. So Potter a favourite.
What a favourite. And then he's mentioned under 21 with De La Fuente is the next favourite is Lee
I was
Carsley.
going to say Lee Carsley and Ashley Cole are doing
England's
youth teams.
under 21. Then we've got Jurgen Klopp, Frank Lampard. Like, he did do great club level, but what can he do international level?
Well, Carsley recently got approached for I think it was the Ireland job,
Yeah.
and he turned it down.
Wow.
So I wonder if
He knows.
he knew that Southgate was come done after.
they know?
this.
He's second favourite. And then we got Pochettino.
What gig did you turn down?
Like I think he played for Ireland.
Ireland?
I would
I
have
think
turned
he's
that
Irish.
gig down too. That's
Yeah, for the under 21s job.
Imagine playing for a nation that
Irish.
doesn't make coaching a nation that doesn't make a major tournament. That'd be the laziest gig of all time. Like, oh, we didn't make it. We got
Next thing,
6 months off, guys.
We got a qualifier.
Yeah.
Oh,
next thing you know, you're getting
forfeit.
Conor McGregor in to do some inspirational chats.
Anyone else on the list?
Pochettino, he already mentioned it.
What about Big Sam?
Big
Sam Allardyce.
Doesn't he have like a 1-from-1 record or something for England?
Yeah, he's got the best record in
Yeah.
the history of English football.
And then Thomas Tuchel in at $22.
It's crazy. So we look at it right, and you go, okay, with it, now that the spot is vacant, you got a fat paycheck. You know what? Yeah, do you go out and you get an established coach, or do you stick within the system of the England youth with the Carsleys and the like? So certainly be interesting to watch this space.
But I do hope Southgate goes to United. That'll make it.
I haven't seen Brad smile like that for at least 48 hours.
Hit the little. Yeah, no. If he please don't talk about Gareth Southgate and Man United in the same sentence, mate. Yeah.
All right, well, there you have it, football fans. That is our Euro show wrapped up. I hope you really enjoyed that episode. We had a really good yarn about it. We are also going to be releasing a special mini bite-sized episode based on the team of the tournament. So we've all written our own starting 11s. So we'll try and mash that together to get one out there. So as always, make sure you're following us on Instagram, liking, commenting, and sharing our content. And make sure you give us a follow on YouTube and Spotify if you haven't already. Thank you so much for choosing to score some goals here. And remember to celebrate with the corner flag.